Hello and welcome to Accounting 425. I am Wendy Finn and we are going to review week 2. During our session, we're going to focus a bit on the unique examples. I have some examples that have been shared here that I'm going to share with you. For those of you that are still working to incorporate those examples into your responses, I thought showing you a few of the examples provided by classmates might be helpful. You can also pull a bunch of those from the discussion board. A lot of great examples have been shared on the discussion board, so feel free to look there as well. For those of you who are not working in the corporate life right now or corporate world right now, no worries. Some of the best examples come from the everyday life. Those are things people can easily identify with. One of the examples I often use relates to change. Whenever I recommend clients implement a new control or modify a process, you always hear, we don't have time. Everybody's going to have questions. It takes too long to change. It's too hard to change. And for those of you who are at least as old as I am, I don't know if you recall when it was not a law to wear a seatbelt. That seatbelt law came into being when I was in college, and there was so much just complaining when that became a law. Oh my gosh, it's going to slow me down. It's going to take me so much time. Really, it's clicking a seatbelt. And it's something that now that we've incorporated into our daily life, you don't even notice. For instance, a lot of morning routines are you open the garage door, you get in your car, you start your car, you're looking in the mirrors as you're clicking your seatbelt, going into reverse, making sure you have your cell phone pulling out of the garage. So many controls that you just perform there that once they're incorporated into your routine, you don't even notice, such as using the mirrors, such as opening and closing the garage, opening and closing your doors, putting on your seatbelt. So examples such as that are great examples to utilize when talking about control points. So, like I said, can be corporate related, but doesn't have to be. I mean, we go to grocery stores, we go to banks. Feel free to use those sort of controls from your everyday life. Okay, assignment 3-2. On the flip side, this is one of the few instances where it does not make sense to include examples. This is almost an assignment in reverse, where examples are being provided and you need to identify the corresponding business concept. So, 3-2, no need for examples. A couple places I want to point out, these are places in my textbook that I have put little flags on to use to go back to. Great example of data flow diagrams on page 55, that is 2-22. Great example of a system flow chart at figure 2-25 on page 58. And a great example of a program flow chart on page 59 at figure 2-27. So like I said, I don't know if you guys have any of those little sticky tabs. Those are pages in my book that I have flagged and I go back to from time to time. You'll want to go back to those throughout the course as well. Okay, let's run through the quiz. After we've done that, feel free to ask me any questions, and I will send a message out to the class regarding any questions I receive as to, why one answer was right or another was wrong. First question, a documentation tool that depicts the physical flow of information relating to a particular transaction through an organization is a system flowchart. Batch processing will not permit data to be edited on a real-time basis. And that's because it is a accumulation of data that is being basically held in a pool and then batch processed at once. So while it's in that holding tank, you can't be making modifications to it. So you really have to pick and choose when it's an appropriate time for batch processing. For instance, if you have an online shop, you would not want your inventory to be updated in batch processing. That would need to be real time, so that if you have 5 pairs of mittens to sell as they're being sold, you need that inventory level to shrink so that you know whether or not you have any available for sale. You wouldn't want at the end of the day to process your inventory updates and realize, oh no, we only had 5 pairs of mittens and we sold 10. So, real-time versus batch processing. Accounts payable is a place where I see a lot of batch processing, where the clerks will enter invoices for payment. They'll enter a whole stack of them. They'll have a control total to make sure that what they're processing for payment agrees to what they had added up at the beginning of the batch, to make sure that they didn't have any input errors, and then they'll process the batch. 3, which of the following files is a temporary file? That would be a transaction file. Which of the following is true of the relationship between subsidiary ledgers and general ledger accounts? The relationship between the two provides an audit trail from the financial statements to the source documents. And last, a coding scheme in the form of acronyms and other combinations that convey meaning is a mnemonic code. Okay, so that was the quiz. Take a look back if you'd like. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, like I said, on why you got something wrong or why your choice was not correct. Going forward, watch for words like least or lowest to highest or not. Some of the questions get a little trickier where, the book might have something highest to lowest and then they asked lowest to highest. So just watch for stuff like that. All right, problem 2-2, number 8, timesheet processing. Right here is an excellent example provided as support from one of your classmates. I wanted to share this just so you can see the sort of information that I'm looking for. Here, she really ties together, the information in the book to real-life examples. So I thought this was great as support. My husband recently worked for a company that didn't take part in actual clocking into a system for their time. Their process was similar to the above process. Manual timesheets were collected and turned into the payroll clerk. She then entered these timesheets into the system manually in order to process paychecks. If the timesheets had not been a hard document and had been part of the computerized payroll system, the flowchart would have been displayed slightly different. So again, she's taking the information and able to provide an excellent corresponding example from the real world. And there are still companies that do manual timesheets. Fewer and fewer. Okay, problem 11. I just wanted to provide you an opportunity to see the book response for this problem. When you're putting together flowcharts and diagrams, I am not going to grade you on if yours looks 100% like what the textbook response was. There's multiple ways to get to the same endpoint. So, take a look here. And again, this is the book's response. Hold on a second, a plow is going by. Sorry about that. When I am recording this, we had the ice storm this morning, so plow going by is making a lot of noise, and the dog wants to bark at it. One second. Okay, my apologies. Hopefully you had a few seconds there to look at the book response. If you have any questions on this particular diagram or even your diagram, please do let me know. Like I said, there's more than one way to skin a cat, so to speak. Here is another great example. Like I said at the beginning, I wanted to give you a couple examples that are being submitted by classmates. And here you can see again for problem 11, the example that goes with this diagram. The above figure is similar to a hospital transaction cycle where I'm employed. We purchase supplies and assets, medical equipment such as an MRI machine, with cash received from the revenue cycle. We also pay employees to provide healthcare services with cash received from the revenue cycle. All of these transactions are handled through our accounts payable system and our payroll system. Our capital items are recorded in our fixed asset system. Our patients are cared for during our conversion cycle. After care, the patient is billed and cash is received from the services provided, which is then used to buy supplies and pay employees. So again, great example provided by a classmate. All right. Database, excellent example provided as support for a database. I'm going to give my voice a break here for a couple seconds and let you read this. What I loved about this example was the student was sitting in the training and able to apply what she has read just in a couple chapters here of looking at systems and what we have to manually input, how databases talk, or in this case, how they don't talk with one another. This can give you great ideas of things to request from IT. You know, it's very possible that these two databases could talk to each other, but nobody thought to ask IT to say, hey, could you build an interface from this to this? So often I do operational audits where we're looking for opportunities for either control enhancement or even process enhancement. And, you know, when they say, oh, the system won't do that. Well, have you asked IT if it can? Well, no. So keep your mind open like this student did and think of ways, how can we make it better, faster, cheaper? I'm a deep believer that everything we do in life can be done better, faster, and or cheaper, usually a combination of two. You know, better is either more efficient, more secure, better quality. All right, so I think we went through enough examples there to give you a good idea of what we're looking for. Make sure you tune in to next week's live session as we will be performing a detailed review of the exam. Per assignment instructions, be sure to submit all assignments using the submit button to the Dropbox. It's too hard to grade assignments from both the discussion board and Dropbox and try to piecemeal things together there. So make sure everything's in the Dropbox. Let me know if there are any other questions or topics you'd like me to cover. And if you ever want to meet one-on-one in a live session, I am willing to do that, so just let me know. All right, thanks so much, and have a great afternoon, evening, I guess, depending on when you are listening.